Hi everyone, welcome back to the engineering major interview series. Today I'm with Caroline Johnson. Um,
Hi.
Caroline, can you tell us a little about yourself?
I'm a senior bioengineering major at Clemson, and I'm currently planning on applying to grad school. I'm from Austin, Texas. Yeah, it's kind of it.
Awesome. So we met freshman year and we took a ton of engineering courses together. Can you just tell me about just sort of about, that freshman year, courses you like, courses you didn't like?
Well, freshman year was a little funny because we had to take classes that weren't related to engineering either. So I remember like we were in the same English class together too.
Yeah.
Um, so I definitely preferred all of the ones that were more engineering oriented, just because that's kind of what I was looking forward to coming out of high school was actually starting the engineering classes. Um, I definitely liked physics, and I actually liked the general engineering courses, which is kind of an unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people didn't like those very much, but I think I was just so excited to actually learn engineering that at the time they were really exciting. Um, but I didn't like chemistry as much, which those kind of things kind of helped me pick bioengineering, I guess. Kind of which classes freshman year I enjoyed more than others.
Yeah, that was sort of
Obviously, I wasn't going to do chemical engineering because I hated chemistry. So
my next question was what drove you to bioengineering? Did you come in thinking you wanted to do that? Did you just hate chemistry that much or
I definitely came in already wanting to do bioengineering. Um, that's part like I only applied to schools that had decent bioengineering programs or had bioengineering programs at all. I think just because I went through that phase that I feel like most people go through in high school where they want to be a doctor. And I eventually realized I didn't think I wanted to go to med school and I didn't think I wanted to be, actually one on one working with patients as a doctor, but I wanted to kind of be behind the scenes of all that. And that's kind of what bioengineering does. Um, so I came in wanting to do that, but then freshman year, I actually was pretty set on switching to biosystems, which is sounds similar, but I mean, I don't know if you know, it's pretty different.
yeah, we've
Um,
got a separate interview on it.
yeah, okay, yeah. So it's definitely more environmental kind of
Yeah.
climate change engineering. And I switched to that freshman year, but then switched back to bioengineering before I actually ended the program. Um,
Okay, did you switch to that because you wanted the environmental side or did you okay.
Yeah, I also liked it was appealing to me that that program's smaller and the bioengineering program's a little bit bigger. Um, and I've always kind of teetered back and forth between like health science and then environmental type sciences. And so I think I was pretty set on bioengineering. And then the courses I took freshman year, I guess, and just talking to people older, I almost ended up doing biosystems. And then I kind of backtracked and was like, went back to bioengineering just because it's something that I'd been passionate about for longer.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I feel like you lined it up a little bit, but the truth is like across different majors and especially for freshmen, like I couldn't really tell you a ton about, say, chemical engineering. I don't know if you'd be able to tell me a ton about industrial engineering. Can you just sort of run through what bioengineering really is with me?
The way I think of bioengineering is just the engineering of any technology related to human health, and it could also be animal health too, like veterinary health. Um, so kind of if a doctor uses it, it's it's a medical device, and that was a bioengineered device. If it affects your health or even like hygiene type stuff, then it is a medical device and it's bioengineering. So I just kind of think of it as the engineering of things that make like health more efficient or make people's lives less painful or last longer.
Gotcha. And then I guess my next question from there would be, uh, it's sort of it seems like a lot of different majors lead out to the world in a ton of different ways. So I know with industrial, you can become like a process engineer. You can go into consulting. Can you tell me a little bit, or, I don't know how much you know on it, but where you can go from college with about bioengineering degree?
Yeah, it sounds like such a specific field, but you can kind of go lots of different directions with it. A lot of people apply to med school. So people who are thinking they want to be pre-med but not 100% sure will go into BioE a lot just because then you still have a really good degree to fall back on if you don't choose to go to med school or if you don't get into med school. Um, so I know some people doing that. And then you can also go more like the academia route and get a PhD and become a professor or do research, which is kind of similar research to what you just do with biology, but it's more device related. Um, or what I'm looking at is going and getting a Master of Engineering, which is it's kind of like an MBA, but for bioengineers. And so it teaches you more like practical industry related skills. And then you could go out and just work for a big company or a startup actually designing med tech, which is what I want to do. And you don't need a master's degree to do that. It just kind of helps. Yeah, or you can, a lot of people go into medical device sales at one point or another, kind of start as engineers, and then it's kind of just a way into a lot of pharmaceutical and medical device companies too. So once you're in there, you don't necessarily have to stay an engineer. You're just kind of, it's kind of a door into like the health related fields.
Gotcha. Okay, so you get through freshman year, you sort of flop back and forth between biosystems and bioengineering. You finally get into bioengineering, and I mean, tell us about that. You got favorite classes? I don't know if you take them now or you took them earlier, anything like that.
Um, yeah, I immediately loved it. I was, as soon as I guess I took one BioE class spring of freshman year, and it was just it's a BioE, I think it was 1010. And it's just kind of, we didn't have to take regular biology. So it's just the biology course that's kind of geared towards bioengineers. And I loved that class. Um, and then fall of sophomore year was a little weird because that was COVID. So most of my
Right.
classes were online. So I enjoyed my classes, but they weren't,
Yeah.
very interactive, kind of like I hoped they would be. But um, I don't know. I immediately had good experiences with almost all my classes. But it's kind of cool because bioengineering is kind of there's a lot of technical skills in engineering, but it's not as technical heavy as say mechanical. Because then there's also the whole biology, anatomy, physiology side of it. And so I kind of in my mind like split my classes up, and some of them are really like math heavy, and we're deriving equations, and the tests look more like two long math problems, and you have an hour to do them. And then there are other classes that are a little bit more memorization based, kind of what's going on in the body, that kind of thing.
Right.
I tend to prefer the more math heavy classes, but because I'm interested in biology, I kind of have enjoyed both sides of it.
Well, that's good. I guess um, if you step back from bioengineering a little bit and you see it from the outside, I know in industrial there's like an emphasis in computing, and there's a ton of tech electives you can take to sort of specialize your skills in, a ton of different areas. Does bio have a path like that, or a set of paths like that? Are there emphases, different ways you can go within the major that you know about?
Yeah, so there are two concentrations, and you have to pick one. So it's biomaterials and bioelectrical concentrations, and almost everyone chooses biomaterials, which I didn't really know when I chose it. But bioelectrical would be more, well, kind of exactly what it sounds, but electronics that go in the body and electronic medical devices. So more like the electronics within a pacemaker, that kind of thing. And then biomaterials is more about how different materials and devices interact with the body and biocompatibility and all of that. So
Gotcha.
you pick one of those two, and those are the only two options right now. But biomaterials does feel pretty broad, honestly. Like you don't have to devote your life to studying materials if you choose biomaterials, because only a few classes really differ between the two concentrations. So a lot of it's still just general bioengineering.
Okay, awesome. And then I guess back to you would be You get through sophomore year, you get through junior year. Can you tell us about internship or co-op experiences?
Yeah, I did co-op. I did not do a co-op,
Yeah, either or.
but I had an internship last summer that I didn't find through Clemson. I found it through a friend of a friend of a friend, just kind of that whole process, reaching out to people, emailing people. But I did a remote internship for a pharmaceutical consulting firm. So that was kind of interesting for me because it was a lot more, it was still pharmaceutical industry and they consulted over certain medical devices and processes. But for as far as my role, it was much more towards the business side of things that I hadn't really seen. I was writing a lot of reports on industry updates and all of that. Um, so that was kind of cool. I don't know, my classes hadn't particularly prepared me for that just because I'd been learning all of the science, not really like not as much about the industry. But yeah, it was a good experience. And they seemed impressed with me. They said they were impressed with me. So I guess Clemson prepared me for some part of that. Um, yeah. So
That sounds awesome. And then you sort of said you want to go to grad school after this, but can you tell us, I mean, do you have any inklings of what you may want to do? Any, companies you want to work at super bad? Anything like that?
I actually would love to work at a startup just for the sake of having a small company and kind of more room to grow, and you play more roles, like you just kind of wear more hats when you're in a small company like that. So I don't really have a certain company that I would be trying to work for,
Gotcha.
but I'm interested in working for a startup, kind of actually designing med tech, and then also translational medicine is the name for kind of the interaction between clinicians and doctors, like between doctors and engineers. And so there's kind of a middleman there who's finding needs based on interacting with medical professionals and then translating them to engineers so that devices can be designed to kind of solve those problems. And I really like that space a lot, just kind of between, say, a surgeon and an engineer, and making sure that what's being designed is actually what people need and what doctors want to use and all of that. So I kind of know the space I want to get into, but I don't necessarily know company or region or any of that.
Awesome. And then a last question, I promise. I ask this to everyone, and I usually get the same response, but I I feel like I should keep asking it. You feel like you chose the right major for you?
Yes, absolutely. Um, yeah, I feel like it'd be easy to, I feel like I could have been interested in biosystems too. Maybe if I was sitting here as a senior in biosystems, I would feel the same way. But I love studying what I'm studying, and I don't think I could have found a major that was, more exactly right up my alley for my interests. So,
Awesome. Well, thanks for talking to me, and good luck with grad school.
yeah, thank you. You too.